Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing my build of the Rocketarium Gadfly here, and it is time to at least do some of the fins. Now I'm quite confident I'm not going to get them all done in this particular video. I think that the best policy here is I'm going to put these on later because they're shorter. I'm going to attach the smaller fins at least to start. Now again, the instructions only told me to angle these. I get a 45-degree angle. They didn't tell me to sand off the backs or anything. I don't feel super great about that. Probably wouldn't hurt to at least give them a quick once over. I did sand them a little bit, but this one's still a little bit on the rough side. So I think I am going to quickly sand the back once more. If for no other reason than there's still a decent amount of like the laser burn on the back, and it's not super smooth. Alright, I can live with that. The bottom, the root there, that I did sand well enough, I guess. And you can still see there's a little bit of texture there, but I'm going to live with that. Alright, so now I need to do the usual gluing business here. So I've got my wood glue, I've got place to put the glue as I pour it out. I'm actually going to snip the end of this off because I have a giant glue ball at this point, so I'm going to just cut through this with my scissors. There we go. It's not worth scrapping the whole thing. I'm just going to get rid of the nastiness. Alright. And my nozzle's a little clogged today, because of course, why wouldn't it be? Every once in a while it does need to be cleaned out, so I'm just going to keep some of that there, just in case I need it. Probably won't, now that I think about it, because I'm going to apply the glue directly here. And then smooth it out. And I think I will just take some of it off here to add the second layer, but I'm going to put 2 layers on, as is my usual approach. For dealing with attaching fins. This is about as strong as you can get when you are just using wood glue here. So wait about 30 seconds, and then the glue is bonded to this wood, and then the next layer of glue is going to start to bond to the glue itself, which is a stronger bond, or so I am told. Alright, so there's some more, and I'm just going to apply that right there. Now I did, if you recall, I did mark this wrong the first time, but I did cross all those out. So this is the one I wanted. This is at what, 9/16 of an inch. So one little mark past the 1/2 inch mark on my ruler. So hopefully this will go pretty well. This is a pretty big tube, so the curvature of it is not as bad as it would be on a smaller tube. The balsa is fairly thick, so there's a decent amount of surface area when it comes to the width. Now it's a very small fin, so it doesn't have a lot of space for the glue, your surface area really, for the glue to stick to, but it also doesn't weigh very much, so there's not going to be a lot of force trying to, gravity's not going to pull it off as much since it's so light. Alright, I'm going to check alignment here as best I can. I want it straight up and down, of course, so I'm just going to look and kind of eyeball it here. It should make roughly a right angle. I'm not going to actually check it. The only thing I really want to make sure is that it is centered pretty well. And since we did angle the front, that angle part ought to be right on the midline. I'm going to smooth the excess glue here as best I can. And then I'm going to kind of wedge it in like so, at least for the time being. I really didn't need the glue here, so I'm going to use this up. If anything, you know, this isn't the world's worst idea because the glue is starting to tack just sitting there. So I probably should have just poured it out of here as I went, but this isn't, you know, that dumb an idea. So again, about 30 seconds. The first 2 fins usually go pretty well. I don't generally have a problem with them. it's when you're starting to attach those extra fins. And of course, there is that, there's like a happy medium here of going quickly in order to save yourself time at the end while the glue is still not fully set in order to check your final alignment. So oftentimes the instructions I've seen say, like attach a fin and then wait for it fully to set. In fact, these instructions do. They say glue the fins on one at a time and let the glue fully dry in between fins. I do not agree with that personally. I think that if you do that, you're likely to have misaligned fins at the end. I find it difficult to check the alignment without all of them on. So I would rather not do that. I would rather move somewhat quickly and run the risk of the glue not being completely set by the time I move on to the next fin, but still having a chance to adjust the alignment at the end. If the fin falls off, you can always reapply it. If you have it permanently stuck on and it's not stuck on in the right place, I would say that's a bigger problem. Alright. Attaching the next one then. Hold it for 30 seconds or so. I don't quite, there we go. You can at least check the forward alignment while you're looking at it here again, because the diagonal of the fin ought to be right, the pointy part anyway, ought to be right in the middle of that line that we drew. So let that sit another couple seconds, and then we'll check for alignment. This one is, I don't think it's terribly straight. Yeah, it's not. That's a lot. That looks better. Again, no real way to know for sure until oops, shoot. Well, that's going to be weak because I just bumped things. So I am going to let some extra time pass here before I try to attach the next one. Or, alternatively, I could attach it on the bottom side. I think I'll do that. From now on, I'm going to stand these up, but not like that, because there's this eye hook there. So we'll stand it up this way. Alright. Probably have enough glue here for one more fin, and then I'll go back to, oh yeah, that's not very much at all. And I'll go back to the bottle. That's actually a very light amount. Yeah, that should be alright. I do need to clean this though. I mean, that was part of the reason. The nozzle, this one seems to get clogged like about this far down, so you can actually just pull the orange part off if you do it gently enough. And usually that's the best way to clean it out. You could just soak it, but I don't usually have such good luck with that. Plus it takes a while. It's not that quick. Basically just ripping this apart seems to, well, I mean, it's fast, so that's certainly an advantage. Alright. Second layer of glue. There we go. And spread it out. I do have a little bit over the side, so I'm actually going to mop that up right now. The fin, the most recent one I put on was this one, so I'm going to go on this side now. So this one's dangling straight down. Gravity is just pulling straight down. I find that that's much less likely to flop over than when you have it at a right angle. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I suspect it has something to do with the manner in which the glue is holding. Ultimately, like if you have it at a 90-degree angle, you make kind of a, or you set up a torsion, so it's twisting. I think that's the real problem. If it's pulling straight down, or straight, well, if it's up like this, it's not going to flop over at all. If it's straight upside down, I think the glue does better against just being pulled straight down than it does being twisted. Alright, another couple seconds and then we'll check and see how this goes. Feels pretty good. Smooth out the excess and check for alignment. Right, so the top ones are not aligned with each other. You can see that, and this one feels like it's not really aligned with the first one I put on either. So I'm just going to adjust things ever so slightly now. Again, I find it quite difficult to check for alignment accurately when we're in the middle of the process. Now, I do have this grid on my cutting board, so I am going to use that eventually, and I suppose I could do it now, but honestly, I don't really see, I don't really think it's worth messing with everything just quite yet, because chances are, if I need to adjust things, I'm going to have to adjust a bunch. And it would be nice, more than anything else, they should be in alignment with each other. If they are basically at right angles with each other, kind of regardless of how accurately they are on my mat, I can live with that. But I'm not going to really know that until I get all four on. Anyway, a few more seconds. Again, this is the last fin, so this is the one that I have. It's kind of like the biggest danger zone because I have so many other fins that are only partially set at this point. So if things are going to go wrong, it feels like it's either the third fin or the fourth fin that when I'm attaching it that seems to be the problem. So I'm actually not in much of a rush at this point. So we can let this sit just a little bit longer. Again, the more glue you put on here doesn't necessarily make it any stronger, but it does mean it takes longer to dry. So don't go nuts with that. Alright, again, this is trickier because you're going to have to support it since this fin is now upside down. You certainly can't lay it on the ground in order to attach this anymore, which is always nice for the first two. Yeah, I think I have it. Feels like I'm pulling it a bit toward me. I can't really see that to know for sure, but I suspect that to be the case. I also did not seem to have it exactly on the line, which I could see. Right. Feels pretty set. I also seem to always get more glue squirting out on one side rather than the other. Alright, so this is terribly askew. I actually had it, I think I overcompensated. It was kind of going the wrong direction. Alright, now I am just eyeballing this for alignment at the moment. Yeah, that looks passable. The moment of truth then is when I'm going to use my cutting board here, and I'm going to use the grid to check for alignment. So I'm going to try to center this on the grid, and then I'm just going to bump it. I always tend to bump it a couple times here. I'm going to use the grid to check for alignment. Alright, so this fin seems a bit off. And just ever so slightly tapping it with my thumbs to adjust fins. Alright, I'm pretty confident in that, but I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees and then check again. So, it's possible that I have some kind of bias in it based on how I'm holding it and how I'm looking down. So if you rotate it 90 degrees, that should compensate for whatever, whoops, that was a little much, for whatever bias you may have added to the thing. I'm adjusting this far more than I adjusted on the first one, so I think I'm going to rotate this another 90 degrees after I'm done messing with it here. I'm quite confident that I'm moving it. Off of the grid. Alright, one more. So, this is, oops. This is rather critical work here, especially because the other set of fins that I have not put on yet, I'm going to put them in alignment with these fins. So these are the ones that I definitely have to make sure are on right. Alright. I am happy with that. Hopefully that's pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to let this dry thoroughly. And I think after it dries thoroughly, I'm going to put a fillet on it, just to make sure it's on super strong and all that. I need to put fillets on anyway, but I think I'm going to put the fillet on after this is all set. I will probably also put a fillet on the launch lug, this launch lug at any rate, because, I might as well, since I'll be down there. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.